Okay, so we're going to learn about 7.6 today. It's called rational exponents, and I don't think you've ever done this before. The space number chart's going to help you solve the second part of today's assignment. So let's just talk about the space number chart. These are the power charts. This is called base 1, and 1 to the first is 1, 1 to the second is 1, 1 to the third is 1, and so on. This is called base 2. 2 to the first is 2, 2 to the second is 4, and so on. You can read the chart. And then the next one is base 3. The next one is base 5, base 6, base 7, and base 10. I just want to talk about this. Some of you think that 2 to the third equals 6. It doesn't equal 6. I don't know where you got this idea that you just multiply the 2 and the 3 together and you get the answer. That's not how exponents work. Exponents work that this little number up here tells you how many 2's there are. There are 3 of them. 2 to the third is equal to 8. Just like the chart says, 2 to the third is equal to 8. As you're looking at all these base numbers and higher powers, you're noticing that base 4 is not there, base 8 and base 9 are not there. I'm going to tell you why those are gone, and that they're not here, and they'll never be here. Base 4 is missing because you see that base 4 can be written as 2 to the second. So there wouldn't be a base 4 because all of base 4's can be written using 2's. If you notice here, between base 7 and base 10, it's missing base 8 and base 9 because all base 8's can be written using base 2 and all base 9's can be using base 3. These are the most popular base numbers that you're going to use. This chapter and the following chapter, you need to know how to use these base number charts. So, okay, now comes the first part. There's really only 2 parts of this assignment. These notes will probably only take about 15 minutes to watch. I just want to bring back again, a fraction is a half. There's another way to write fractions. Another way to write a half is using a decimal, 0.5. They mean exactly the same thing in math. They're just written differently. So if you put a half on the test, or if you put 0.5 on the test, I accept them because they're exactly the same thing. What's my point? This is my point. Okay. So we already know about the fourth root of 7, and we know about the cube root of 3 squared. I'm going to show you something new, that there's another way you can write radicals. You can take the 7 out. It's 7 to the first power, so you can write it as 7 raised to the 1/4 power as a fraction. So the fourth root of 7 written as a radical and 7 raised to the 1/4 are exactly the same thing. Similar to a fraction and a decimal, these mean exactly the same thing, just written differently. The cube root of 3 to the second, I can take it out, and it can be written the same way. Instead of the cube root of 3 squared, I can write it as 3 raised to the 2/3 power. You can go in the opposite direction. It might be written as a exponent, and they might want you to put it back into a radical form. You're going to put the 2 inside the radical. This little 2 goes here, and the 1 goes here, but they don't usually write the square root of 2 like that. They usually write it like that, the square root of 2. 5 raised to the 1/3. If they want you to write it as a radical, you put the 5 on the inside and the cube root of 5. I want you to take your calculators out right now. And what I want you to do is just to show you the same concept as a half and 0.5, what I want you to do is everybody put the square root of 2 into your calculator and see if you get the, like 1.4 something. And then, I also want you to put 2 to the 1/2 into your calculator. So put 2 you have that little caret key raised to the 1/2 power. And what you should get is the same exact answer because it's the same concept written in 2 different ways. So part 1, you only have 2 parts for today. It shouldn't take you long to do part 1. Part 1, all they want you to do, if it's in exponential form, they want you to put it back into radical form. So this should only take but a second, maybe a couple of seconds, to put the x on the inside and write it as the 6th root of x. You can put the 1 here, but on my answer key it won't have a 1 there. It'll just be the 6th root of x. Example number 2, this is not written the best. Let's go d raised to the 7/4. They want you to put it from exponential form into radical form. They want you to put the d underneath. It's the 4th root of d to the 7th. The 4th root of d to the 7th. Now we're going to go in the opposite direction. They give it to you in radical form, and we're going to put it back into exponential form. It's c raised to the 1/4 power. And the last one, c raised to the negative 5/3 power. So that's all you're doing on the worksheet for the first part. I will send the worksheet and I will send the answer key to you so you can do this. This assignment will not take you too long to do today. Okay, we still have a second part. Hopefully that was enough, for examples, was enough to go from radical to exponential and exponential to radical. Now comes the second part. The second part is to evaluate each expression. I know that you could just use your calculator to come up with the answer. You could probably put 16, use your caret key and raise it to the 5/4 power to get your answer. But the higher level math you take, the more you need to know how to do it without using a calculator, and that's the point of this. They want you to use the base number chart. They want you to use the base number chart to figure out how to solve 16 to the 5/4. So I have about 4 of these to do. I have 4 of these to do for you. 16 to the 5/4. You're going to look at the chart. So let's go back to the chart. And you're going to notice that 16 is the same thing as 2 to the 4th. So you're going to go back and change the 16 to 2 to the 4th. But you're going to still raise it to what it was, the 5/4. And then you have a power raised to a power. So you should know what happens when you have a power raised to a power, you multiply. And if you're doing these right, the second part, the part in the numerator and the part in the denominator should cancel out. And all you're left with is 2 to the 5th. And 2 to the 5th is not 10. You don't multiply those two together. It means that there are 5 2's, which the answer is 32. No, you do not have to do this part. You should know that 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, 5 times is 32. Okay, a couple more. 49 raised to the negative 1/2. You're going to go back to your chart. You're going to look under 49, and under 49 is way over here, you guys. 49 is the same thing as 7 squared. You're going to go back under this page, and you're going to change 49 to 7 squared. And you're still going to raise it to the negative 1/2 power. You know you're doing it right, because the 2 and the 2 would cancel each other out. You're left with 7 to the negative 1. You remember what negative exponents make? They don't make negative answers, they make fractions. 7 to the negative 1 is 1/7. Okay, a couple more. 32 to the 2/5. You go back to your chart. I'll give you time to go back to your chart right now to look and see what 32 to the 2/5 is. I go back to my chart. I'll circle it in red. It's right here. 32 is the same thing as 2 to the 5th. I go back to my chart. I change 32 to 2 to the 5th. And I raise it to the 2/5. I cancel out the 5's, 2 squared. 4, final answer. This is a quick way to know how to do this when you get into upper level math classes to solve these types of exponent problems. This one is not on your lecture notes, but this one is. 27 raised to the negative 2/3. Last problem for today. I looked at my chart. I'm going to change 27 to 3 to the third. Some of you don't even need a chart. Some of you know that 3 to the third is 27. Raise it to the negative 2/3. I know that my 3 and my 3 will cancel out because I have one in the numerator, one in the denominator. Multiply them together to cancel each other out. I'm left with 3 to the negative 2. And negative exponents give you a fraction. It gives you 1 over 3 squared, which is the same thing as 1/9. I will send you the worksheet to do, and then the answer key.